Hello and welcome to the ReVue channel. My name's Mike and today I will be talking to you about a gimbal that I received for the purpose of this review. It's by a Chinese company known as Feiyutech, and this is the mobile handheld 3-axis gimbal for cell phones and mobile phones up to a payload of around 200 grams. This was given to me for the purpose of this review by a company called Abto. I'll put a link in the description to their Amazon page. And we're going to look at the features and the functionality of this gimbal, and then I'll give you my thoughts after having used it for a little while. So as you can see, this is the packaging. It does state that it's the 10th anniversary special edition. Truth be told, I'm not 100% sure what that means. As far as I'm concerned, there is just one version. This doesn't appear to have anything more than any of the ones I've seen elsewhere. The only thing I can think is this, which is the chicken on the end of the box, and it actually appears on the side of the gimbal when we open it up, which I'll show you in a moment. When we open the box up, we see the various instruction cards that come with the gimbal, warranty card, English and Chinese instructions, and then you have the actual gimbal itself. Micro USB charging cable comes in the box as well, and this is quite specific because the charging port on this is a little bit difficult to use. We have the gimbal, which will come out with the gimbal that sits inside the packaging. You also have two phone adapters that allow you to add an action camera to this gimbal. I'll put a picture of that now on the screen so you can see how it looks with an action camera set inside. Fitting a phone to the gimbal is fairly straightforward. The arms here are spring-loaded and will allow for pretty wide devices. I don't know of anything that's bigger than this. Pixel 2 XL fits, no problem. And for the purpose of this, I'm going to be showing you with an iPhone SE. Now this is not my normal phone that I'd use to film, but the Galaxy S8 that I'm filming on now is sat inside my Xiaomi Smooth 4 for recording. So to install the device, the easiest thing to do is to basically place one side in and then pull the arms until it snaps shut. You need to ensure that the phone is pushed up against the motor here, and then you need to balance the device, because if you look at the moment, it's just flopping all over the place. To balance, there's a knurled ring here which unscrews and allows this arm to move along its axis. And what you can do is basically nudge this along until the phone is pretty much balanced on its own. So something like that is absolutely perfect. You then grab the knurled knob and you twist it until it tightens down. This locks that movement in place and the device is pretty much balanced. Now, you don't really need to change this very often unless you're changing devices, but one thing that I have noticed is because I've tried this with a few different devices, this knurled ring is quite difficult to get tight sometimes. You really have to crank it down to stop it from moving, but as I said, once it's done, it's done. To switch it on, you then hold the button in the middle and you'll see the phone jumps into a pretty much perfectly leveled position. Once the phone's in the gimbal, it's all balanced, you'll see that it sits level. You have the joystick on the front here, which allows you to move on the different axes. As you can see, within the app you do have the parameters to change the speed, etc. Now speaking of within the app, I'll go into this in a little bit more detail shortly. For a phone like this, which was a little bit lighter than my Galaxy S8, I struggled to get it to actually connect with the gimbal because the motor parameters that I'd set for the S8 needed to be changed for a lighter device. So it struggled to initially get going. I had to put the S8 back into this, change the motor parameters, take the S8 out, put the iPhone in. It's a little bit of a messing around. It's not an auto-sensing one like some of the others out there. But it's not bad anyway. So it's now set up, and as you can see, it works fine, and it does almost 360 degrees takes its time. Just shy of 360 degrees. If I remember rightly, it's 320 degrees. And then with the tilt, we can again go almost 360 degrees. Not bad if you're looking to do some form of vlogging, etc. So you can turn it back round to yourself and then, if necessary, adjust it how you want it to be. But it's not really designed to be a vlogging device. You also have the ability to hold it in flashlight mode, which is the way that I do tend to film, just because it gives you that little bit more control. And for me, it feels more comfortable than walking around like this. It's just a little bit more comfortable. On the front, as I mentioned, you've got your button on the front here, so if you tap it once, that will take a photo. If you hold it for 2 seconds, it will start video. Tap it then to end the video. If you hold it for 5+ seconds, it will turn the device off. It's pretty straightforward in terms of a gimbal. On the back here, you've got your zoom, which zoom in and out is very smooth. It doesn't judder like some of the others that are out there. And then you click and it will give you the different modes, which is basically, you can't go into flashlight mode with this. It's more of a follow mode. And the same with the side to side movements. Click the button in again and it will take me into the other mode where I can go into flashlight mode. The app itself isn't too bad. It's called Feiyutech On, and I've done a bit of a tutorial here. I'll take you through it. As with most of these Chinese apps, it's not perfect. There's a couple of errors with pairing, and just general usability can sometimes be a little bit flaky. It's one of the better apps that I've seen, and it's actually okay, but it's not brilliant. It's not great, but it does what you would like it to do. I'll put that tutorial video in now so you can see how the app works. The app that you need for this gimbal is Feiyutech On. This is the Android version, and on the screen you can see the permissions that are required for the app. The name of the app is the exact same on iOS, but with me using a Galaxy S8, I am opting for the Android version. Once the app is downloaded and you open it up, you're greeted with a screen with all the different products that are supported by the application. You can see the smartphone gimbals, action camera gimbals, and SLR gimbals. Once you click on connected gimbal and your device is on, it will give you the device to select. By tapping on that, it will open up the product that we're looking for. On the main screen, it will give you a little bit of a run through of the different things with a basic tutorial of where to tap for the different settings and the different things that you need. Once you've had a little look through them all, you can just tap the button at the bottom and it will basically dismiss those for you. Once the application is open, you will see along the edges that you have various different options to tap. Having moved around with the joystick, making sure that everything is working fine, you have the camera up at the top right, the record button in the middle, and the filters at the bottom. You can also slide along with the different modes for photography. It works better on a contrasting background, so I've placed my hand in front of it so that you can see. Once you've selected the mode that you want, tapping at the top right will take an image, or alternatively you can push the button on the device and it will take the photo. The middle button is for recording. I did have a few issues getting this to record, and I think it was a problem with the app. Once I rebooted it, it actually started working again. At the bottom, you've got the different filters that are baked into the application. So as you can see, they are put in on the screen when you're taking the image so that you can see what they look like. And you can put different filters on there, whether it's a black and white or a nostalgia or a fade, or go back to your normal mode. And there you are. Tapping the settings button at the bottom takes you into the settings for the camera and the gimbal. Within here you can adjust things like the face tracking speed, basically the pan and tilt when doing tracking, which is an option where you select a subject and it will follow. You can also adjust things like the camera resolution. Depending on the type of phone that you've got, it will allow you to record and take photographs in different resolutions, and here are all the different options that you want to select to get the best quality picture. Now with my Galaxy S8, I'm going to go right up to the top to 11.9 meg as the highest option, and then in the video side of things I'm selecting Full HD. Now unfortunately it doesn't support the 4K video recording built into the app, even though that is possible on the Galaxy S8. You also have the option to change things like your burst settings and the timer settings, so that when you just push the button on the device you will have different parameters set for 1 second, 2 seconds, so on and so forth before the picture's taken. The burst mode, how many photographs it will take during the burst, and then the delay or interval, should I say, between the photos in burst mode. You can also choose whether or not you want to have a watermark on the footage or not. Save location of where you want the actual files to be saved on your device, so you can put them onto an SD card or the actual device itself if you're using Android. And you can switch on your grid so that when your camera gets back you can see an actual grid on there, so you can line up the horizon. Within the gimbal settings is where you can adjust the motor dynamics. The motor dynamics depend on the device that you're using, so the heavier the device, the higher those motor dynamics need to be. You can also choose your dead zones within the pan and tilt on the follow settings, so how much you need to turn before anything will happen. You can change how fast the joystick responds with a touch, so I have this quite high up so that I can move the joystick quite quickly and fine-tune things quite quickly. So I've put it right up to full speed on both pan and tilt. Got your restore settings and then your updates as well within that part of the app. When you're back in the app, you can zoom in and out using the toggle on the back of the gimbal, and as you can see it's quite smooth and it works nice and easily, so that you can zoom in on the subject that you want to, and then you can use the joystick to move around. Tap the button and it takes a picture of the subject. So I'm going to zoom in on the clock above me, so I'm going to pan around until I get there, then zoom in on the clock. And you can see how smooth all the zooming is. When we zoom into the actual clock itself, I can make small adjustments, go right for the center, focus on the actual area by tapping on the screen, and take my image. So there we have it, zoomed in on a specific thing, and it's nice and simple to do that. You don't have to move your hand at all, other than to move the actual joystick itself. So the app's not bad. It's not the greatest app I've ever used, but it does the job quite nicely, and it's fairly intuitive and fairly simple to navigate around. Well, you've seen how the app works, you've seen the features of the gimbal. I'm going to run through the pros and cons for it. Now, pros are it keeps rock solid video. I really like the effect that it gives. It almost makes it look like you're flying, which is great because you don't get any bounce with it. I've got a video where I'm running as fast as I physically can here to see how it copes, and the gimbal is in flashlight mode like this, and I'm running as fast as I can on uneven ground, and I'm probably not the most graceful of runners in the world, so it's pretty herky-jerky, but as you can see the footage now, it looks great. Ready? Steady, go! The next thing that I really like about it is the joystick. A lot of the gimbals nowadays seem to be moving away from the joysticks, but I love the fact that you can adjust however you want it to be. The only axis you can't adjust on is this roll here. So you can pan, you can tilt, but you can't roll. So that is based on your balancing of the device and the motor parameters that you saw in the app. Another thing I like is the curved nature of the actual body. Very simple to grab hold of. It's very light. It's about 400 grams without the phone, so add your phone in and that'll tell you what the total weight's going to be. And it just feels nice. It's nice and ergonomic, and it's nice and smooth. There's no sound from any of the motors, and it really does a very good job of stabilising, as you can see. Another thing I like a lot is the 1/4" mount on the bottom, so you can have a tripod on, and within the modes that you again saw before, you can do panoramas, you can do various things with the gimbal using its different axes, and this also allows you to put it somewhere a little bit more uneven. It does have quite a flat, wide bottom, so you can put it down and it will stay there, but a tripod is always better. We're now going to move on to the cons, the things that I don't like about it. First thing that drives me absolutely insane is this. It's the charging port. Now, the charging port itself is just a rubber grommet that sits in, but it sits slightly recessed, and it's very difficult to get in there if you don't have fingernails. I have short nails because I'm a guy, and I struggle to get in there to get it out, so I have to poke it out with something. Not a huge issue because you're not charging it that often, the battery life is pretty damn good on it, but it is a bit annoying. I would make it so that the flap was a millimetre or two protruding. Now it could just be the one that I've got, but it is difficult. The second thing with the charging port is that the space for the actual micro USB to fit in is quite deep, and you need a narrow-headed charger for it to actually fit in. You can see here that the charger that comes with it fits absolutely perfect, and it clips in brilliantly. If you've got a micro USB with anything wider than that body, it won't stay in, it falls out. It's good that they provide the cable, but if you were to lose it, if you're using an adapter for a lightning connector, USB Type-C, something along those lines, this is not great. The other thing that I'm not a huge fan of is how this thing turns off. So if we turn this around here now, it's all very nice and balanced and it's holding it in place. If I turn the power off, this happens. And it just falls. It's not such an issue with this phone, but with my Galaxy S8 it drops and it bangs against this part of the motor here. There is a way of remedying this, which is to bring the device out a little bit more, and if you get your balance perfect like that, where the device isn't on and it's almost perfectly balanced, then you don't get that drop. This is a very light device. Anything heavier and it does fall. It's not a big issue because you keep your hand underneath it, but it's just something to be mindful of. The first couple of times I did it, I was a bit annoyed that my Galaxy S8 was smashing off the side. So if we take the phone slightly in the middle, that doesn't happen. So that's it now off, and it's much more gentle. You can see that it's moving around. Something to be mindful of though, that the heavier devices, it does drop and it does bang into the bodywork. All in all though, I'm really happy with this, and I wasn't expecting it to compete with my Smooth 4. Feature-wise, it does seem to be a lot more basic, so it doesn't have the follow focus wheel, it doesn't have the zoom, it doesn't have the buttons and everything on the actual body. But truth be told, this seems to be my go-to at the moment because it's very, very simple. I love the fact that you can use the joystick to adjust. I love the fact that there's not too much complication. Once it's set, it's done. It keeps everything perfectly level. I have had a few issues with gimbals in the past that aren't 100% level. This one's rock solid though, and I'm really happy with it. The only other thing I would change is the light combination for the LEDs on here that tell you what's going on with it. They're not the most intuitive things in the world, so a flashing red light means that there's a problem, but a solid red light means that it's going into standby mode, whereas a blue light means that there's this and there's that. They're all very complex. They're a bit difficult to remember, whereas it would be nice for it to just have a red light is bad, a green light is good, a blue light for Bluetooth, as you would expect. Other than that though, it is great. I'm really, really happy with it. The zoom's nice and smooth. The features built into the app work well enough. It feels very, very good quality. I've just thrown this in a bag and not had to worry about it. And it gets some great footage. Very, very good footage. So for something that can handle both action cameras and smartphones out of the box, with a pretty damn good battery life, it's great. I'm really, really happy with it. Thank you so much for SZ Apto for sending this over to me. Phil, you're an absolute diamond, thank you. But I really like it. I do really like it. It may not be the most feature rich, it may not be the most pretty and beautiful and big industrial looking thing, but it just does what it's supposed to do very, very well. It does seem to be my go-to. Plus, it's got a chicken on the back. So that's me, that's Mike from ReVue. Thank you very much. Appreciate everybody's time watching this. We're still quite new to YouTube, so do feel free to leave any comments with any criticisms or any constructive ideas that we can do. We are looking to do more and more of these. I'm just struggling to find the time at the moment. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments box. I will put the links to the SZ Apto shop on Amazon. Thank you very much again, Phil. And give us a follow on Instagram, give us a follow on Twitter. Instagram tends to be our pictures taken with the devices, and it's not so much product photos, it's more photos taken with the product, so drones and cameras and gimbals and things along those lines. Twitter is where we're easiest to contact, and then YouTube, obviously. We'd appreciate your views. So if you do like the content, please give us a subscribe. We are still new to this, we are still building, but we'd really appreciate your support. Thanks again, and this was the Feiyutech Vimble C, provided for the purpose of this review.